The movie is Marty Supreme, which was written by Ronald Bronstein and Josh Safdie, and directed by Josh Safdie. The thriller film follows Marty Mauser, a young man in the 1950s who pursues his dream of becoming a world champion table tennis player at any cost. But as Marty's choices begin to catch up with him, he begins to feel the walls closing in around him, ultimately threatening the possibility of achieving his tightly held dream. So I've always been a massive fan of the Safdie brothers films. Good Time and Uncut Gems are two of my all-time favorite thrillers. They're just both incredibly tense and chaotic and beautiful and raw, and they just command every ounce of your attention as you watch them. But instead of collaborating like they did on Good Time and Uncut Gems, the Safdie brothers recently decided to work separately, each pursuing their own individual projects. Benny Safdie then went on to put out The Smashing Machine last year, which overall I enjoyed. I thought it was a solid debut for him as a solo filmmaker, but it was just very, very different than their previous two films working together. Now, Marty Supreme comes from the other brother, writer-director Josh Safdie, which fits perfectly in the same category as those two other films. So much so that people have actually sort of unofficially coined it as the Hustle Trilogy. And shockingly, I think I may have liked Marty Supreme more than I liked those other two movies, which is astounding to me just because I really love those other two movies so much. I am consistently so impressed by Josh Safdie's ability to write dialogue. He just really nails the way that people actually talk to each other. He just understands that there are so many details and intricacies in the way that we talk to one another. People often interrupt each other, they talk over each other, they sometimes don't really say a full thought, they'll repeat themselves, and there are very different cadences that every conversation has, all of which he captured perfectly in this movie. The dialogue is messy and it's imperfect in a way that mirrors reality, and it's just so good that it makes me wonder if he encourages improv in his films or if it's just super smartly written down to the pauses and the filler words like the Coen brothers do, for instance. Another thing that I love about Josh Safdie's movies are his use of very different looking people. I think oftentimes in films today, everyone kind of looks a certain way. They typically all look like actors, and they're mostly all beautiful, which makes sense because they are actors. But it often gives you that feeling of like, oh, where have I seen that person before? I've seen them from this show or this other movie. But Safdie manages to find these people who I have legitimately never seen before in my life. They have very different features and very different faces, so much so that they just come across more like real people. The different types of faces you see in the bowling alley scene, for instance, is so refreshing because it just screams authenticity to me. And of course, I'm not talking about Chalamet and some of the other A-listers in the film, like Gwyneth Paltrow. I'm more talking about some of the smaller roles in the film. But even with Timothée Chalamet, they use a crazy amount of prosthetics and makeup to kind of ugly him down a little bit, to take away some of that natural beauty that he does have. And Gwyneth Paltrow is supposed to be playing a movie star, so it makes sense that she's incredibly beautiful in the film. The makeup and prosthetics they used on Chalamet for the acne and the facial scars and adding more bushiness to his eyebrows was incredibly awesome in making him look less like a movie star, which fits much better with the movie. And speaking of Chalamet, what a performance from him. He absolutely smashed this role. I see why he's been promoting the film so much. He did so well in it. It's definitely his best performance to date, which is saying something because he is so incredibly talented. He's been in so many good movies and had so many great performances. And I think he's more than likely going to be nominated for Best Actor and potentially even win at the Academy Awards. He truly became this character who was kind of a bad guy, who was selfish and arrogant, but who also had this extremely compelling quality that made you want to root for him despite how unlikable he really was. Which I think, when done well, is the best type of protagonist because it's so much more interesting than somebody who's just sort of good and righteous through and through. The music in the film absolutely rocks. It is just so, so good. So much so that I've been listening to it on repeat since watching the film. It's full of breathy, echoey, layered synths, and it adds a ton of tension to the film, which is already super tense. My hands were literally sweating multiple times throughout the film because it is such an anxiety inducer. One of my favorite songs was the one that played during the Holocaust honey scene, which, by the way, holy shit. It was so insanely beautiful and disturbing and incredible all at the same time. I love that it was just this unnecessary throwaway scene, but that was so good that it could have been this amazing short film in and of itself. Now, I've seen a lot of people who seem to have really disliked the ending of the film, which I can definitely understand that. but I personally really appreciated it. I really liked that it didn't end the way that Good Time or Uncut Gems did, which would have been kind of predictable and stale. But I also really liked that it was ambiguous. We can never really truly know what Marty was feeling in that final moment. And while we can speculate and come to our own conclusions, I like that it's open to interpretation because it challenges the viewer to think about what it meant to them. I saw this in 2026, but it was definitely one of my favorite films from 2025, which was already pretty stacked with fantastic movies. This is an insane roller coaster of a film that constantly moves from one disaster to the next, adding in random chaos at times, but that continues to weave each thread together to form this phenomenal film that I truly love. It features unbelievably good acting performances from its leads as well as its supporting cast, which, by the way, shout out Mr. Wonderful, he absolutely smashed it. Breathtaking cinematography that is very intentional, immersing you in each scene, and one of the best soundtracks on a movie all of 2025. You absolutely need to see this one in theaters to fully experience the intensity and the chaos that this film delivers. So go watch Marty Supreme. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel, like the video, and add a comment letting me know what you thought of this movie or what movie you think I should review next. I put out a movie review each week, so subscribe to stay tuned. Thanks, y'all.